Good morning, y'all. It is January 2nd, and today is day 2 of my reading plan, so I'm going to share that with y'all. Today we're reading Genesis, the rest of Genesis 2, and then all of Genesis 3. So, let me find it here. Should have put a little sticky note. Sticky note. Uh-oh. Okay, there it is. Hope you guys are having a good start of the year. I'm already seeing a bunch of messages, like people posting like posts about how like, oh, they already messed up the year, so oh well, 2021 will be their year. I think that's funny, but like, because time is just like a thing, right? It doesn't even exist. So if you messed up yesterday, start today. Don't give up just because like yesterday wasn't perfect. We didn't really do much yesterday. We were like, for the most part all day, we were just sitting around not doing much because it's a holiday. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to just relax. But today's back to life. I'm babysitting today though, so I got my little niece here in the room next to mine and just watching TV. So I gotta do this quick. Alright. So we left off on 2:9. We're gonna go into 2:10. So a river went out from Eden to water the garden. From there it divided and became the source of 4 rivers. The name of the first is Pishon, which flows from the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. Gold from the land is pure. Ooh, this is a hard word. Bdellium and onyx are also there. The name of the second river is Gihon, which flows through the land of Cush. The name of the third river is the Tigris, which runs east out of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. I think a couple of those rivers still exist. I got like little maps here that show like where everything is. That's something you can Google, and like there's like little charts. Like you Google stuff and there's so many charts already made by people who've taken the time to like make out maps and be like, this is where this is, or this is where we think this was. And it's kind of interesting to see because then you can see like the movement. Okay. The Lord God took the man and placed him in the Garden of Eden to work it and watch over it. And the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree of the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for on the day you eat from it, you will certainly die. Then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper as his complement. So the Lord God formed out of the ground every wild animal and every bird of the sky, and brought each to the man to see what he would call it. And whatever the man called a living creature, that was his name. The man gave names to all the livestock, to the birds, to the birds of the sky, and to every wild animal. But for the man no helper was found as his complement. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to come over the man, and he slept. God took one of his ribs and closed the flesh at that place. Then the Lord God made the rib he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, this one at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds with his wife, and they become one flesh. Both the man and his wife were naked, yet felt no shame. It's kind of cool. Alright, chapter 3. This is like, okay, this is probably the most contentious part of the Bible, because this is the part that everybody knows, and yet it's still the most misunderstood and like the most difficult to go over, just because everyone has feelings and beliefs about it. And so I really liked before I knew about anything Christian based, like obviously we all hear the stories, but we didn't know them, because unless you're actually taking the time to read them and actually look into it, then you might have just a completely different view of it once you actually read it yourself. So I kind of think that's cool. So, the temptation and the fall. Chapter 3. Now the serpent was the most cunning of all the wild animals that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden? The woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit from the trees in the garden, but about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said, you must not eat it or touch it, or you will die. No, you will not die, the serpent said to the woman. In fact, God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Then the woman saw that the tree was good for food and delightful to look at, and that it was desirable for obtaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of Lord God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze, and they hid themselves from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. So the Lord God called out to the man and said, where are you? And he said, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. Then he asked, who told you that you were naked? Did you eat from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from? Then the man replied, the woman you gave to be with me. Isn't it funny how he points to her even though he was with her the whole time? She gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate. So the Lord God asked the woman, what is this you have done? And the woman said, it was a serpent. He deceived me and I ate. Then the Lord God said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed more than any livestock and more than any wild animal. You will move on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life. I will put hostility between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. He said to the woman, I will intensify your labor pains. You will bear children in anguish. Your desire will be for your husband, yet he will rule over you. And he said to Adam, because you listened to your wife's voice and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, do not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you. You will eat from it by means of painful labor all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. You will eat bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. Adam named his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all the living. The Lord God made clothing out of skins for Adam and his wife, and he clothed them. The Lord God said, since man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, he must not reach out, take from the tree of life, and eat and live forever. So the Lord God sent him away from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove man out and to station the cherubim and the flaming whirling sword east of the Garden of Eden to guard the way of the tree of life. Alright, that's it. Short reading. That's kind of like a lot of reading, and I feel like there's a lot that people can look into it. If you go to the Bible Project on YouTube, they have like a whole, they go through every single book and they break them down. So they break them down into what happens, so kind of like a good timeline. And then they also have specific videos that go into specific concepts, especially really difficult concepts. I think the beginning of the Bible, obviously, it's very difficult because you're we live in a very different world. And we're very not used to having to think about these kinds of things. And so if you have any negative feelings towards it right off the bat, I think that makes sense. So look into it, look up some articles and why is this way, and why didn't God respond in a different way, or why didn't they respond in a different way, or how does this affect us? I think that's fun to do. And yeah, I'll read tomorrow. Tomorrow's reading will be all of chapter 4, and then from chapter 5 all the way to to verse 14 on chapter 5, and then it'll be the weekend, so we'll start over the next day. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will post this on my YouTube page and link it here later in the day, okay? Thank you guys. I gotta stand up and look for the button to push to end this. Bye!